couple of weeks ago, I was in the old city by my parents on the rooftop overlooking Bayis. You see the Dome of the Rock, and you can't stop the question, how is it possible that we've conquered all this? It seems like the Gula is starting, and yet we've given up sovereignty of the most holy place. Now, I'm not here to discuss politics. Mahmoud Abbas will decide, he and King Abdallah from Jordan, they were the people that Israel chose to allow to give control, the Islamic affairs. They're in charge of this. My question to you, the question begs itself. I'm sitting up on the roof and I'm looking, how is it possible that the land is under our sovereignty, but the religious aspect of the holiest place is still inside of the hands of our enemies? So I want to bring you back to the first Rashi. The first Rashi, everybody knows. Rashi asks, why does the Torah begin with the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh? It should have began with the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. Why tell us the entire Chumash Bereshis? Why tell us the whole story of creation and the birth of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? What's the relevance? Elo, says Rashi, and he brings the pasuk in Tehillim Kuf Yud Aleph, where it says, Koyach Masov Higid La'amoy. The strength of God's actions, he told, Las Islam Nachlas Goyim, to give them something of the goyim. Let me ask you a question. Nachlas Goyim? Why not give us Canada? Canadians are very nice. The Canadians would say, Hashem came to us and said, Canada is ours, and they'll politely leave. Why give us Nachlas Goyim? That's the question. So let's play detective. If you look in Vayikra, Yud Ches, where it says, Kamase Eretz Mitzrayim asher yeshavtem amal tasu, Kamase Eretz Canaan asher mevi eschem shoma l'rishto al tasu. The pasuk says, don't take the actions of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, their abominations don't do, and don't be like the Canaanim, where I'm taking you to. So I took you out of Mitzrayim, and I'm bringing you into Canaan. And says Rashi that Mitzrayim were the worst people, Makukal, and the Mitzrayim were bad, but Canaanim were worse. So which begs the question, why bring us to the worst place in the world? In Tehillim Lamed Aleph it says, Ma rav tuvcha asher tzafanta li'arecha. How large is the good you've given to the people who see you? What does it mean, the hidden good? So how is this good that Eretz Yisrael is the nation, belongs to all the other nations, and the Jews are fighting for our existence, and the goyim are saying it's our land, and we have to prove it. But in the area that's the most holy, we fail to prove it. And I'll tell you the truth. Do you know what's going on in every Muslim's mind? Do you know what he's thinking? He's thinking God is with him, Allah is with him. That's the message he gets. When do we wake up and see this message? Now, I want to take you deep over here. I want to take you into the Sfas Emes that will change completely. Let me ask you a question. Everybody comes into Eretz Yisrael and they want to get the Kadusha of Eretz Yisrael. I want the Kadusha of the land. I want the land to infuse me with its own Kadusha. It says the Sfas Emes, the land was barren, and God took the light and he hid it. Asher tzafanta, that you hid. God hid the light. So where's this light? It's in Shemayim. So Eretz Yisrael itself is a kli. It is a vessel to receive Bnei Yisrael inside of it. And when Bnei Yisrael come inside of it, that is the creation of Kadusha. The Kadusha comes down to Bnei Yisrael, and the Bnei Yisrael also are mamshech the Kadusha. Mishabayim, they bring the holiness into Eretz Yisrael. So when we say that Eretz Yisrael is like the skin of a deer, that you look at it after you deskin a deer, I've never done this, but I trust Chazal on this one, that it shrinks and that you could stretch it infinitely. The more people come into Eretz Yisrael, says the Sfas Emes, the more Kadusha is added to Eretz Yisrael. So the Kadusha is actually us. We are the kli, we are the instrument we are able to turn the switch that brings sustenance and brings Kadusha and brings godliness to Eretz Yisrael, says the Sfas Emes. And the truth is that this concept of tzipisa liyeshua, of waiting for God to bring Hashem down, and we can have actions that can take us into bringing down Kadusha. Every Shabbos, we bring down a neshama yisera. And that's why Eretz Zavas, Chalav, Udvash. Zavas is a Taf. Chalav ends with a Bayis. And Dvash ends with a Shin. Shin, Bay, Taf. What do you get? Shabbos. Eretz Yisrael and Shabbos you have Shemitah. And Eretz Yisrael you have Shemitah. And it's called Shabbos. Eretz Yisrael is Bechinas Shabbos. And that a person comes into Shabbos, he's mafresh himself from the goyim. I wrote to God, didn't give the Sabbath to the other nations. It's our Shabbos. It's our land. And when Hashem says, Vayera, what did Hashem promise Avram? Vayera Hashem al Avram, Vayoim lezarecha etenes ha'aretz hazois. And what is God appears to Abraham and he says to him, I'm giving your grandchildren, your descendants will get this land. And what does Avram do? Even Shom Mizbeach Lashem Hanira Elav. He sees and he builds a Mizbeach according to the God Hanira Elav that he was able to see, the God of his understanding. The Mizbeach was taking, after he got this gift, what was the gift? To Eretz Azois, Nachlas Goyim, not Canada. He gave us the place with the worst people. Mitzrayim was one problem, and Hashem promised Avram, I'm giving you, your grandchildren will get a land that will be worse than Mitzrayim. What does it mean, worse than Mitzrayim? The hidden gem, the hidden gold of Mitzrayim that we said we were supposed to leave Mitzrayim with lots of money. What was it really, Baruch Gadol? What were we really supposed to leave? With the Torah. The real currency of Eretz Yisrael is Torah, Emunah, and Kadusha. That's the currency of Eretz Yisrael, Nikna B'Yisurim. And Olam Haba is Nikna B'Yisurim. That's the quality of Eretz Yisrael. So it's the path. Owning Gullus. Sounds crazy, but own it. Mashiach hasn't come. Every day we say Achak Eloi. And we think that it's the collective days of being mechake that as soon as the cup gets filled, the tears get filled, the mashal, the medrash. Yes, it's true. But Hashem says the end game is not really, it's important. Of course, it's important. But Hashem had the end game before. He always was one. But he wants us to be involved with it. And this is what the Sfas Emes says in so many places, this idea that Eretz Yisrael is not kadosh by itself. Its kadosh is tamun, im techapsena kekesev. If you seek it out, ukchmatmoinim techapseno, and you seek it out like buried treasures, as tovin yiras Hashem, then you will understand and be able to see God. It's only through giving up. It's only through being able to sacrifice and being able to not see the fruit. The fruit is tachas l'shaynech dvash, which is Seifei Tevis is also Shabbos. That's Torah Shabbat Peh. That's Eretz Yisrael. And the achana for the mitzvah, says the Sfas Emes, is more important than the whole mitzvah. You know why? Because you could prepare for the mitzvah your whole life. The mitzvah you do in 1 second. You do the mitzvah once, it's done. Says the Sfas Emes, when we had Nisuch HaMayim, we had Simchas Beis HaShoeva. Wow, what a Simcha, the Simcha Beis HaShoeva. You know what Beis HaShoeva means? Beis HaShoeva means they would go down to Motza, and there would be Shoev Mayim from the Ma'ayin, they would pull water out from the well. What was this water used for? It was for the next day, for the Tamid Shachar, for the offering that they brought, the Tamid. They used that for Nisuch HaMayim. So She'ivas HaMayim, pulling the water out, it was the simcha and the ikr simcha that we have before Tisha B'Av, because Tisha B'Av, Kadusha Yarim, famous word is that on Mishanichnes Ador, we say Marbim B'Simcha. So you're Marba B'Simcha until you get to Rosh Chodesh Av. On Rosh Chodesh Av, Mishanichnes Av Mamatim B'Simcha. So he says Rosh Chodesh Av is the happiest day of the year. But we say Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva, says the Kadusha Yarim, that Beersheva became Beersheva when Yaakov left. Eretz Yisrael went back to be Nachlas Goyim when we left. Yaakov Avinu leaves Beersheva. Pana Haida, Pana Ziva, Pana Hadra. Removes the wealth, removes the beauty. Everything is removed. It falls back. Because when a tzaddik is in the city, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Shechina, loizaza mikaisel ma'arabi, loizaza mihara Bayis, that the Kadusha is still there. What Kadusha is still there? The Kadusha that's there is the only place where the Kadusha is not reliant on Bnei Yisrael doing anything. The Kadusha of Harabayis is a Kadusha which is Be'etzim. It's the only place on earth. It's Be'etzim Kadosh. And that's where all Kadusha comes from. It's the Nakuda, it's the Shairish, it's the small Yud in Pinchas. It's the Nakudas Or, the smallest point. From there, everything else needs to be metaken. We need to take the good out of the bad. Do boirer on Shabbos. Take the good out of the bad. So owning the Golus means that we align ourselves. We align ourselves with Eretz Yisrael, and we say, we're going to take our avodah, b'machshava, and action. With thought and action, we can live in Eretz Yisrael. How do you live with thought and action? So the guf isn't there, but what's the action? When Yaakov left Beersheva, he was already gone. And it says that when Yaakov left Eretz Yisrael, the malachim, the angels, every person has angels. Rashi says, the angels that the person has in Eretz Yisrael, Rashi says, are different than the angels that they have in Chutz La'aretz. And the angels that Yaakov Avinu had in Eretz Yisrael, the second he decided he's leaving Eretz Yisrael, those angels left. And that was the dream that he had in Beersheva. And the malachim and the angels were going up and down. The angels of Eretz Yisrael were leaving, and the angels of Chutz La'aretz were coming. But when was this happening? This was happening when he was still in Eretz Yisrael. A person could be in Shabbos. A person could be in Eretz Yisrael and be in Chutz La'aretz and be in a weekday. On Shabbos, instead of learning Torah, he could sit down and read a good novel or go shmooze all Shabbos. A person could be in Eretz Yisrael and be in Chutz La'aretz. But on the bright side, a person could be in Chutz La'aretz and be in Eretz Yisrael. When Yaakov turned around and said, I'm coming to Eretz Yisrael, Rashi says, the angels of Eretz Yisrael joined him. And when a person turns around his Shabbos, and he says on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh Av, Parshas Matos, Maseh is the journey. The journey is important. Own Golus. It's our Golus to live or our Golus to lose. Imagine Mashiach comes and we're not ready. Imagine Mashiach comes and there's a parade. Parade will go through, go across Eretz Yisrael. Melech HaMashiach stands in the front. And there's going to be people, and they're going to have rows. Who helped bring Mashiach? On Shabbos, we can help bring Mashiach. By adding Kadusha, that's the key of Zavas, Cholav, Udvash. The last three letters are Shabbos. The key of Shabbos is that in Eretz Yisrael today, yes, we don't have the final control of where the Wakaf controls of Bayis. We don't have that control. That control for the ruchnius of Bayis, we haven't owned. When we own that, and we say the ruchnius of Eretz Yisrael is given to the Jordanians, to the Mahmad Abbas, Yamach Shemo, that's when we finally realize that the tikkun, the finally tikkun is b'machshava, the final rectification. this Tisha B'Av, to bring it back, is b'machshava, it's in our heads. Because even in Eretz Yisrael, we still haven't taken claim. We haven't owned it. We haven't taken it back. We haven't, because when we take it back in our heads, in our thoughts, and by controlling our thoughts, by controlling our actions, but davar speaking only divrei Torah on Shabbos, then we're being machnis the Torah Shabbal Peh, the choshech of Eretz Yisrael, like it says in the Zohar, Mavda ben Chaylin la Raisa la Chaylin Mashkana, that Sefer Vayikra and Sefer Bamidbar is this depth. Bamidbar and Sefer Dvarim is being Mavda ben the Chaylin, the soldiers who came to Har Sinai, b'derech Nes through Moshe. Moshe doesn't come into Eretz Yisrael, and the Chaylin, the soldiers of the Dor Choshech, which is Yeshua. Yeshua, there was a Dor Choshech in Eretz Yisrael through Maisa, through action. What action can I take? How can I use my thoughts and actions to be able to remove the nachlas goyim inside of each one of us? Everybody has a nachlas goyim. Every person ain't tzaddik. Asher lo yechto, there's no tzaddik who doesn't sin. And every person has an opportunity to cast out the nachlas goyim inside of him. Beruchnius. And that is exactly what it means when the Muslims look and they say, Bayis, the spiritual aspect of Bayis is still in their hands. Yes, it's still in their hands because we haven't taken it. We haven't taken ownership of the spiritual aspect of Bayis. That's what Shabbos is. So this Shabbos, when a person has an extra hour or extra 5 hours, I don't see why they shouldn't have an extra 8 hours. A person can take it to his heart and say, I'm going to learn an extra 20 minutes this Shabbos. Maybe I'll come 20 minutes before Mincha. Learn something. Bring a sefer you like. And very quickly finish that sefer. You finish another sefer. Ask a friend if he wants to learn with you. This is the malacha. This is the avodah of Tisha B'Av. To know, Ha'ir Rabbosi Yom. They cried on Tisha B'Av. They cried when the Meraglim said, we can't go up. The spies said, we can't come to Eretz Yisrael. And they cried, the Medrash says, they cried fake tears. Because of course they can go up. Of course you can do it. It's impossible you can't do it. And if you're crying the cry of despair, then anybody could cry. That's fake tears. That's how we got Tisha B'Av. We got Tisha B'Av for crying fake tears. Hashem said, you cried fake tears, I'm going to give you something to cry about. And now if we cry fake tears, and we say, just give me back the Mishkan, Hashem, Hashivenu Elecha v'nashuva. Is that what it means? We want Hashem to come to us, but we need to call out, says the Sfas Emes. We need b'machshava, b'maisa, to be misgaber on sleep, to be misgaber on tumah, and to be misgaber, and to be able to be maktish the Shabbos, where we have the neshama yisera. The neshama yisera comes down every Shabbos. Every person, if he's zeicha, if he has the schus, he can get a second neshama, and that's the part of his neshama, the shirish neshama, which never gets dirty. It's the pure, and keep it pure. Because if a person doesn't keep his Shabbos pure, the neshama can't come. This is a pure neshama. That's why, to bring the neshama down on Shabbos, a person needs to be able to connect to his ruchni side of Torah, not to speak lashon hara, and to do the mitzvahs of Shabbos, and to learn on Shabbos, learn Torah. If ain't Torah, Torah is Eretz Yisrael. Imagine the Torah of Shabbos. And when a person has zoicha, that the neshama yisera enters him, just like when a person is zoicha to be in Eretz Yisrael, and he gets, the Eretz Yisrael gets a neshama yisera. Eretz Yisrael gets an extra neshama. And Eretz HaTzvi, that it stretches out. And the Gemara says, I think Gittin and Vav, it says that the more people come in, it stretches out. What does that mean? Says the Sfas Emes. Brilliant. You know what it means? It means beruchnius. The Kadusha, the Or HaGonos from Shemayim comes down and is Mekadesh Eretz Yisrael. And when a person keeps Shabbos and is Mekadesh Shabbos and does the Kiddush of Shabbos, the separation, Kiddush is separation. He separates himself from the world. He separates himself from everything. And he comes into Shabbos. He's a separate person. He said, I didn't give it to the other nations. Shabbos is our gift. Beini, between Hashem and us. It's a sign that Hashem says this is Me'ein Olam Haba. This is what Olam Haba looks like. Olam Haba looks like a person gives over a machshava on Shabbos is a halacha. That a person can't be thinking about business on Shabbos. A person can't be talking business on Shabbos. The idea of Shabbos is a place of Eretz Yisrael, a place of entering and bringing down this neshama. And when a person gets this neshama, he's metakin himself. Just like the Kadusha that comes out in Eretz Yisrael, when a person comes into Eretz Yisrael and is Mekar of Kadosh Baruch Hu, that is Mekadesh Eretz Yisrael becomes a higher level. It becomes something more spiritual, more uplifted. Eretz Yisrael changes. And because of that, the person grows. So ask not what Eretz Yisrael could give you. Ask what you could give to Eretz Yisrael. You could give Eretz Yisrael the gift of Kadusha, of the Or HaGonos. You could give the Bayis to Eretz Yisrael back in your thoughts, in your actions on Shabbos. Yiratzon, that this Tisha B'Av, the Tzomach Hamishi, like it says in Zechariah, will turn into Sasan and Simcha, rejoice and happiness. And it will turn into a festival. And at that festival, we will celebrate this concept of owning the Golus. Say, yes, what part do I have in my head? Where is the Nachlas Goyim? Where is this rooted ideology, mentality of the goyim in my head? What steps can I take? What small steps can I take to move my vector towards Eretz Yisrael? To move my vector towards Shabbos, to move my vector towards Torah Sheba'al Peh. Find this safe for your life. Have a good Shabbos. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, please like the video. It helps bring more people. If you click, other people see you clicked, and it brings more people. And we can spread the word. Thank you. Have a great Shabbos.